Hello, my friends. I'm Dick Hellman of CPAC, the Christian Lobby for Israel, and Merkel, our Middle East Research Center that supports CPAC with studies and projects and much more. Even our study missions to Israel are done under the umbrella of Merkel, the Middle East Research Center Limited. I'm here today to talk to you about a major issue that we will be addressing in this session of Congress, but even more so, that we need to be resolute on throughout this year and in the years ahead. I'm speaking about the peace process, the negotiations that Secretary Kerry, the Secretary of State, is pressuring Israel and the Palestinian Arabs to undertake. Now, Secretary of Kerry has had at least 10 missions to Jerusalem and Ramallah, always to jumpstart these talks in which neither side is really wholeheartedly interested. And they shouldn't be. The situation in all of historic Israel, which embraces the areas where the Palestinian Arabs and the Palestinian Authority are autonomous, the situation is comparatively very peaceful and prosperous compared to all of the nations surrounding Israel. It's the most prosperous place for Arabs to live in all of the Middle East, and it is the most peaceful and safe and secure for them, be they Muslims or Christians, any place in the Middle East. So why the Secretary of State continues to press and pressure Israel and the Palestinian Authority to negotiate some kind of a comprehensive agreement regarding the contested areas, I have no idea. It boggles the mind. It makes no sense. It's unreasonable. Now, of course, we believe, based on our biblical basis for CPAC and Merkel, that God gave the land of Israel to the Jewish people, and God help us if we pressure Israel to give away God-given land, particularly for pieces of paper from nations and organizations that they can't trust and shouldn't trust. Therefore, we're looking particularly through Merkel at the exact costs to America if, God forbid, this comprehensive Saudi or Arab peace initiative were to come into effect. If Israel were pressured to give away all of the land that it regained in June of 1967, all of historic Judea and Samaria, most of the areas of the city of Jerusalem, including all of the old city, even the Jewish quarter, and all of the holy places, including the Temple Mount. And so what we're looking at particularly is the cost and the security risk to the United States of such a peace plan going into effect. Now, this is something you won't hear from anyone else, but not only should the Israelis look twice and three times at the elements of this Saudi or Arab peace initiative, giving away the Golan Heights as well as Judea, Samaria, and most of Jerusalem, but the United States public should look at it, because if you move some 700,000 Jews out of these contested areas, and that's the real number at least, the cost is immense. And if you move how many, 1 million, 2 million or more Palestinian Arabs from around the world into those areas from which you have evicted this large Jewish population, the cost is immense, and the security requirements are considerable, in fact staggering. We're talking now, and this is what our ongoing study will likely confirm, we're talking about a cost in foreign aid to Israel and to a new Palestinian state of some $1 trillion with a T. And most of that, as you know, usually comes from the United States, because we not only make these promises, but we keep them. Others are not so good about that. And secondly, the security requirements will entail, we believe, much more than the 100,000 troops we thought it would take. Now, I believe this may turn out to be 3 or more times the number of security troops, peacekeeping troops, in other words, 300,000 or more troops to police all of Israel's boundaries, all of its borders, with all of its neighbors, including a new Palestinian state. America is not going to stand for this. We don't need another upwards of $1 trillion in foreign aid obligations or another big military involvement in the Middle East to police this, shall we say, unstable and fractured region where only Israel has ever kept peace and maintained the holy sites and freedom of religion. The neighbors, frankly, are not so interested in that. So the United States Army would have a great, great burden, even if part of a NATO peacekeeping force, to do this in the absence of good faith efforts by the new Palestinian Arab state and Israel's other neighbors, which are supposed to sign peace treaties with Israel. This is just a short take about a very, very bad idea, which has many ramifications. But I trust that you'll look at this, you'll study this, and you'll get as incensed as I have been that nobody but I am telling you about the cost and the military requirements of this Saudi or Arab peace initiative. It's not just a big pig in a poke that's being sold, it's a big camel in a sack that's being peddled, and nobody's telling you how big it is, but it's huge. I may well be conservative about my estimates of the cost and the military requirements for this, but let's research it together and let's support Merkel through your contributions, which have been so generous, so that we can define and quantify with certainty what these costs and military obligations might be, are likely to be under the plan that Secretary Kerry is negotiating, and then let's take it to Capitol Hill through CPAC and make sure that the congressmen and senators of good faith do not let any such unwise agreement go into effect, which would have vast economic and security impacts upon the United States, most of them very negative. Thank you again. It's good speaking with you, and I'll see you again next week. God bless you.